I'm sure everybody remembers when they were kids and they were playing, like, kickball or baseball or basketball, whatever kind of game you were playing or sport you were playing. And there were two team captains, and somebody had to be picked last, right? Somebody had to be picked last, and maybe that person was you, and maybe it wasn't. But in life, it kind of goes that way too. Sometimes there are just going to be places or marketplaces, that is, where you're not going to be picked first and you're not going to be picked last necessarily, but you're going to be picked somewhere in between. But for all of those people that have been with a narcissist or any kind of toxic relationship, because that's what we're going to focus on in this video, that's where they intentionally know that you're capable of being picked first, but they choose to pick you last to try to make you seem like and make you feel as though you're not really where you actually are. And so they'll intentionally make you feel like you are a person that isn't supposed to be picked first, but you actually are. Like you are that empathetic person. You are that perhaps even athletic person, that inspirational person, that calm person. You actually genuinely and authentically care about yourself and the people around you. But there have been people in your life, whether it was family members, whether it was ex-friends, that made you feel like you were not supposed to be picked first. And when they picked you last, now they want you first. That's kind of the way things go sometimes. Now, before I go on with the video, I do want to make an announcement of the intimacy support group that I just barely announced yesterday on the community channel, or the community page of this channel. And I want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. It's going to be in a few weeks, December 10th at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And the purpose of this is just going to be to promote, a sense of community and a sense of support for anybody that is feeling as though it's hard to navigate the terrain of the dating marketplace in today's society due to the lack of traditional values. And so this is going to be more of an ideal situation, I think, for most people to just feel like they're with people that actually share those values and share those traditional values specifically. Because ultimately, the health of our souls is, I genuinely believe, dictated by how we live out our principles and whether or not we do live out those principles. But with that being said, let's go on further with the video. So now that they've picked you first now they want you first, you no longer want to be on their team. You don't want to be on their team because you already have your own team. You're on team healthy. You're on team go get it done. Go do things. They were on team procrastinate. They were on team toxic. And you thought you wanted to be on their team, but in reality, they were just trying to brainwash you into believing that you should be on their team. And for so long in my life, I just remember wanting to feel something other than low self-esteem, pain, sorrow. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to feel something other than these things, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get out of team toxic or team stupid. Really. I didn't know, or team codependent as well. I didn't know how to get out of these teams and onto team healthy and onto team Jesus. And with a lot of effort and a lot of striving for something better, a lot of recognizing and taking accountability for all of the terrible things that I had done in the past. And they weren't even that terrible, right? Like everybody does fall short of the glory of God, but and the kingdom, but I never really did anything that was super harmful to another person. I never tried to do anything intentionally with the intent to harm. I never tried to make sure that somebody was going to like feel the pain just because they needed to feel the pain from my experience. I never was that person. And so it always like astounded me when I met these individuals, and I couldn't believe, and I didn't want to believe, that the people on my team were not even with me. We were supposed to be on the same team, but that just wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. I wanted to make sure that we were collaborative. I wanted to make sure that we were cooperative. I wanted to make sure that we were striving for something that was beyond. I wanted to make sure that we were doing something that was worthwhile, that was meaningful. And at the time, I thought the people on Team Toxic were also doing those things, also wanting those things. How silly was I? But I didn't really know that that's the team that we were on. You know, Team Toxic doesn't advertise their team as toxic. It's a facade. It's a facade. And so sometimes it's very difficult to tell the difference between what's a facade and what's not a facade, especially when you're not in the truth, when you're not acting in accordance to the principles of your soul, when you're not acting in accordance to the principles of soulful healing. There's no way you're going to be able to be around those kinds of people. And something that a sage once said is that when you become awake to the nature of reality, you're naturally going to have this inclusiveness with life, because you realize that you are just as much a part of life as they are of life itself as well. And so you see in others something similar to what they see in you, and vice versa. Now, of course, that's not always going to be the case, because Team Toxic, the people that are on Team Toxic, want to pretend like they're on Team Healthy, but they're really not. You see, the people that are Team Toxic want to proclaim themselves to be healthy, and they want to make sure that they are virtue signaling and all of these things. But the Team Healthy, those people, they just are who they are. That's the difference. The difference between Team Healthy and Team Toxic is Team Healthy doesn't need to boast about it. Team Healthy doesn't need to go out and strive for validation or attention seeking, because they just know that they're good in their belly and they're good in their heart. They don't have low self-esteem. They have confidence. Because whenever I had insecurities or low confidence, I always felt it in my belly. And I never felt that fire in my belly until I started following Jesus, really. Like, I had that fire, but it wasn't really lit. It wasn't really... it's kind of a double entendre there, but it wasn't really lit until I started to follow Jesus. Now, I did have... This is one way I learned about this, is that on psychedelics, which I haven't done psychedelics for a long time as far as like a real trip. I haven't done a trip for over 2 years. And I did dozens of trips throughout my early 20s. And I'm 27 now. And out of all of those trips, it was as if the universe was telling me, at the time I thought it was just the universe, but now looking back, it was God. I thought the universe was telling me that, like, in order to seek the good, you actually have to go out and seek the good itself. The good isn't necessarily just going to come to you when you need help. The Team Toxic will, evil will, because they want to take your soul. They want to take your energy. But when you go to a entity of goodness, that was what I saw in this psychedelic trip. when I went to the entity of goodness, like I actively had to seek this entity out. I had to actively seek this spirit out. And it was a good, wholesome spirit. And it taught me a lot of different things. But I had, in my trip, I had a sense of communion with it that I'd never really had felt before. But then it told me that I needed to really feel the pain, really feel the pain. And then for the next like hour, all I did during that trip was just cry from the pain. And I was alone and I was in silent darkness. And it was just so uncomfortable, the pain, because it was just years and years and years of bottled up trauma and bottled up insecurity that just needed to be let out. And I got, in that hour of pain, I probably went through, on the psychedelic trip, I probably went through, golly, like 10 years of trauma in that 1 hour. And just by the end of it, I was in a much better place. And I'm not advocating for the use of these things here. I'm just talking about my experience and what happened and what I needed to do. And this good spirit, this good thing, this good entity told me that I needed to feel the pain. And in fact, earlier today, there was a comment that I responded to on another video that I made sure to let them know that, yes, we need to feel the pain as men. I'm not saying you need to go cry in front of everybody, because if you're going to cry as a man, you got to do that alone. Do that on your own time. And I highly recommend, as a man, you never let a woman see you cry unless it's like at your mom or dad's funeral or something. I don't recommend that at all. But make sure you have your getaway time on your own as a man. And I don't really cry very often anymore. Like, I've gotten to the point where it's like the brokenness of the past, I don't feel that anymore. Like, yeah, when I remember it, it still hurts, but it's not as prevalent, and it's not as impactful. Like, to think back about all of the betrayals and all of the people in my life and all of the narcissistic people, or all the people who just tried to steal something from me. Like, yeah, it sucks to think about, but I don't dwell on it. I don't remember it unless I talk about videos like this, or do videos like this, or talk about things with people in consultations where we bring up certain things and they're bringing up certain things, and it's like, yeah, this isn't a fun place to be. Right. 100%. It's not a fun place to be, to think about the people that done you wrong. It's just not a fun thing. But it's good to remember it all. You have to remember it all. And you have to remember the lessons that you've learned from it. And you have to really let yourself learn from it. That's why feeling the pain is so important in these kinds of contexts and situations. If you don't allow yourself to feel the pain, you're not going to heal. Like, you've got to actually feel the pain in order to move forward. If you keep telling yourself certain stories about the situation at hand, if you keep telling yourself about how a thing is or how your situation is, you're going to believe that, whether you know that consciously or subconsciously. But if you start telling yourself other things, like, my life is going to be the living embodiment of respect, admiration, inspiration, competency, and go-getters. Like, if you tell yourself something like that, over time, you're going to start to believe it. And you're going to start to act in a way that demonstrates those qualities. You're going to start to act in a way that allows you to think about that kind of thing as the narrative of your life in a way that is not hubris or non-prideful, but it's, you are actually just living that truth. You're just living the truth of your situation now. And so when I see people tell themselves stories about the past, or when I'm hearing people tell themselves like, oh yeah, I can't do this or I can't do that, or, you know, I'm not really where I want to be. And it's like, yeah, nobody's really where they want to be, man. No, nobody's where they want to be. Like, there may be a few people in the world that are where they want to be, but for the most part, like, and even the ones that are where they want to be, like, okay, listen to this. So yesterday at the gym, it was Thanksgiving, right? And there's this older guy that I've seen around a bit, and he comes and talks to me and asks me if I'm ready for Thanksgiving, and I just say, nah, not really. Like, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate pagan holidays anymore. And he's like, well, I know you don't celebrate them, but like, do you at least have the day off? And I say, like, no, I don't take days off. Like, and he was bewildered by this. And the reason that I don't take days off right now is because why should I take days off if I'm not where I want to be in my life? What is the point of taking a day off if I'm not who I'm supposed to be for God? Now, am I living my purpose right now? 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. I am on the path. I'm focused. I'm locked in. I know where I am. I know where I'm going. I know where I've been. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm still a young man. I'm still a person that has a lot to give to this world. I'm still a person that has a lot to give to myself. I have a lot to work on myself still. Like, I'm nowhere near done. And I'm hungry. Aren't you guys tired of the people that were once in your life trying to treat you like the next best thing now since sliced bread? Like, aren't you tired of people like that? Like, aren't you tired of people like that when now they see that you're better off without them? Now they want you back? Whether it's like an ex or whatever, whoever it is. Like, aren't you guys sick of that? I know I am. That's why I don't take them back. That's why I don't go back. And you know, it's really weird over the past couple weeks. Like, I've had more women approach me in the last couple weeks than I've had ever in the previous time ever approach me. And almost all of them have turned out to be in relationships or married. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? This is the kind of world that we live in. And us men need to have morals and standards when it comes to that kind of thing, because I totally could. Now that these women, they're realizing like, oh, maybe I kind of settled. Maybe I should see if I can try to get this guy. And sometimes they'll just go to you because they want to feel like, they want to know what you feel like, because they can see your vibe. They can see your aura. They can see something's something's just different about you. Like, you're off on another level and you're on point. And so something is just different. And so they want to just feel it maybe. So they don't really have an intention of being with you. They just want to know what you feel like, if that makes sense. And so it's almost like I just don't take people that want to come in my life super seriously anymore. Not all the time. Not until I see that they are demonstrating certain qualities that I want to see. Because otherwise it's just going to be a distraction. And it's like, who has time for that kind of stuff right now? Like, who has time for did COVID teach us nothing? Did the pandemic teach us nothing about the how would you say, the fragility of life? Like, life can go like that. Life can just happen to anybody. And so that's another reason why I'm not taking days off right now. And, then you have the other kinds of women. I just thought about this. Then you have the other kinds of women that will they'll walk like this in front of you. Trying to get your attention, and like you're in the middle of a bench press or whatever, and you come up and they're just like trying to flip their hair and stuff all around you and touch their hair, and they're acting like a lioness trying to get the male lion's attention, like dancing in front of him and whatnot. And you're just focused because you know that a lot of these women out here are just, like, I don't want to say it, but like, it's just not worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. At this point, for me, in order for me to like actually ask you out on a date as a woman, like, if there's any woman out there like this, it's gonna take it's gonna take a needle in a haystack. I think at this point, at least in the West. I don't know if I want to go overseas. I don't really want to think about that, to be honest. I don't want to have to think about going overseas to find a woman, because that just sounds like I've heard of the passport bros and all that, but man, is that really necessary? Like, is our country really that fucked? Like, to be honest, is that it? Like, is that really where we're at? I don't know. But that's a topic for another day. All in all, ladies and gentlemen, when these people come back, and when the women or the men, for the women watching this, that now want to, try to get with you now that you've lost weight, or you're starting to treat yourself a little bit with more care, or whatever the thing may be, whatever kind of skills you've been working on, and now they want to come back, be mindful of what their true intentions are. Be mindful of why they're trying to pick you first now, because it could be for selfish gains. It could be for selfish reasons. They want status. They just want a trophy or whatever. A lot of men, they don't think about a woman's personality. They really don't. And I understand why women can get upset about that, because they really don't. But I promise you, ladies, the men that really do want a family will look at that. They will look at your personality. They will see it. They will look into your eyes, and they will see if your eyes are innocent or not. They can see it. Like us men, we know. The godly men, that is. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.